based on, you kept talking about, well, we want to have a vote, we want to pass a statute. There's nobody, I'm going to say maybe the exception of my friend from Beaufort, and I'm trying to convince him of it, because I made the argument one last time. That enrolled bill rule, there is no question, absolutely no question. In the court case, the 1936 court case, that Professor Simpkins cited, if he had cited the rest of it, talked about how the continuous change of the rules of procedure makes it a whole new question. So that's the point that everybody's missing. But I can tell you, I'm committed, as the Senator from Charleston said, as we sort of wind down our comments, I'm committed to transparency, giving every benefit of the public, my position on bills out there for everybody to see.
And so we want words and actions to match up, to be delivered.
As I said earlier,
yes.
And I want you to understand, I think it's pretty evident. I didn't harangue anybody's motives. No, I was very careful not to do that. But I did ask a question, why? Just one member. Why? One member could say, no, I want a roll call in every section. Why wouldn't we do that? I think that's a fair question.
Well, that's a fair question, but let me bring this up as something similar to that FOIA information, Freedom of Information request that we get at the city level lots of times.
Sure.
That acts as a barrier, a hurdle for, when Senator Martin was here earlier, I remember last year on the 10th Amendment resolution, he asked for a roll call vote. 5 senators went along with it. Now, after that roll call vote, he suffered a little bit of grief in that subcommittee because other senators were asking roll call votes in what appeared to be, and I'll say what appeared to be, a way to send a message that they didn't like the roll call voting. Now, again, that's what it appeared to be. I was there. So why not lower the threshold? Instead of 3, why not make it 1? If one person says do a roll call vote, let's do a roll call vote.
Well, on amendments, or I'll tell you why. I want to help you out and understand this. The framers, they talked about this. I've read a little bit of the discussion of the Constitutional Convention of 1895.
And you're talking about Rule 16.
Well, no, I'm talking about Article 3, Section 22, which is the 5 and 10. Right. And the reason they didn't grant to one member the right to demand a roll call on every issue where this, and Senator Charleston pointed this out a while ago, tabling motion is a higher motion than the consideration of the bill itself. When we move to table something, if it passes, that's a dispositive motion. It's gone. It's over with. But you never voted on the bill itself. You voted on that tabling motion. But everybody knows what the effect of that is. It killed it. Well, but my point is, I want to bring this up. The framers said, look, we're not going to get into a situation where one senator or one House member can demand a continuous roll call vote on every motion, the motion to table, the motion to continue, the motion to carry over, the motion to adjourn debate, the motion to reconsider the motion to adjourn debate. All those procedural motions that can be applied to any main question. If you give one member of the Senate, one member of the House the ability to do that, you've effectively destroyed the legislative process.
I don't agree with that. I mean,
that's the sense of it. We could go over there one day and show you.
Well, I'm saying in terms of long view of history. Remember that comment I made a minute ago. Using electronics, if you got 1,000 people, you push a button and you got the vote in there. Roll call vote.
What you got to do, is Representative Haley was talking about a while ago. There's a reason the House has a time limit, and it's not 10 seconds. They give 2 minutes, and I can promise you there's probably going to be a move afoot over there as they go to more, quote, recorded voting. Right. To give them a little bit more time, because you did get called out by your constituents occasionally, and you need to go out and speak to them. You don't want it to be perceived as ignoring them, and you need to be on the floor. You can't be in both places.
Right.
So I can promise you, to protect themselves, they're going to probably put a longer period of time, and it just slows the process down to a crawl when you do that.
Well, I know in Casey, my colleagues on council were objectionable to having a roll call vote. It was on the books for 20 years according to Dan Crow, our attorney, and I asked for it to be activated. It was activated, and I'm very happy with it, and most of my constituents who come are very happy. We only have 5 members. I talked to Senator Knox about this, and I know it's a much more complex situation, but electronics should solve that problem. I think it can. But would you explain to me Rule 16, because you mentioned Rule 16 by rule we can adopt, in my judgment, in this Senate's judgment, a lesser threshold.
Yeah.
We have the authority under the Constitution, in my view, to do that. So you're saying we could go down to 2 people asking for a roll call?
Oh, we could, by rule, we could adopt a rule that every vote that is put to the Senate, the motion, all those procedural motions of Senator from Charleston, I won't turn him loose on explaining the matrix of motions that can be made to the main question, but it's unbelievable the number of motions that can be applied, and you can remake them. There's no impediment. Now the House rules has a procedure whereby they only allow you to make a motion, a certain type of motion every so frequently, every 15 minutes, every hour, whatever. We don't have such a rule in the Senate. We'd have to adopt it, obviously. We could require that every rule, there's nothing that would bring the South Carolina Senate to more of a screeching halt than to apply the requirement that everything we do, every motion that's made, every amendment that's offered, every motion to the amendment that's offered. And that's it. See, I'm going on to show you how far this thing reaches. We're going to stop require roll call.
Within the context of the current circumstance, you're probably correct.
Oh, I know. But what you have to do, you have to limit, you have to do several things. You'd have to limit the right of the members to speak, because then you'd be consuming a lot of time voting. You have to do that, because there wouldn't be much time to be heard. And then the second thing you would do is you would absolutely obfuscate the real issue. Here we are spending all this time talking about, and it's as important as it is, we're talking about whether we're going to be on the record voting on essentially uncontested bills in the Senate. We haven't spent any time, and I'm delighted to have spent this time. Don't take these comments wrong, but we haven't spent any time on a number of important issues that would have otherwise come up this morning. And that's not to say this isn't important, but what I'm telling you is that's what you can do. You can obfuscate, you can make it look like, well, we're doing a lot. Man, we're spending all this time voting and not get a blooming thing done.
Well, Senator, I disagree with you strongly on that. Our structure of our government depends on that information coming to the citizens.
Oh, I agree. I want you to understand, I wouldn't say it about the substance of the bill. You said give one senator the right to demand a roll call and everything, and that's why you can't do it, because I'm talking about one senator the right on a motion to table, a motion to continue, a motion to carry over, a motion to reconsider the vote whereby the motion to continue failed, or the motion to reconsider failed, and it just goes on and on. And that's what I'm talking about. You can manipulate, and again, I don't want to use a fancy word, but obfuscate. And you can make yourself appear to be so busy and so productive on people's state, and you're not doing a blasted thing.
Well, that's for the people to decide. But anyway, I appreciate.
Yeah. Before you leave, I just want to say, with all of those motions, and I, of course, not go over the matrix of motions, because card laid is card played. I may need it sometime. But the point I would make to you is this: all of those motions, everything we're talking about, can be as transparent and recorded if you help us pass the rule change. And I'm going to go back and tell you again, we tried to get that, and it was discussed outside of the Senate, and there were senators who didn't want to go as far as the senator from Pickens and I wanted to go on this. Now, because of the constitutional argument, people are trying to portray some, not you, that we're against transparency. But you asked me, would I go back and look at it? I can't compromise the principle. And when I know in my heart and in my mind that it's unconstitutional, I am not going to violate that oath. So please help me change the rules.
Well, if you will actually, your words and actions will actually match, I think everyone here would support you.
I introduced the bill. I introduced the rule change.
Senator McConnell, why not?
I don't, you know,
Why not work? I mean, I know this is a political issue,